When Marie and Mukundi arrived at work that day, it looked like it was going to be a typical day in their park life. Inspections and adjustments for Mukundi, admin and more admin for Marie. Tino was already in the office. He had prepped the coffee machine and was already clicking away on his computer as he had a PhD to attain and did not want to waste any time. Tino and Mukundi worked well together, and Mukundi had stepped up when he found out Tino had enrolled for his PhD. He would need time and support. That was Mukundi for you, always thinking of everything and everyone else first. He smiled as he let go of his wife's hand, just holding on a little longer, and she beamed a reassuring smile at him that they would see each other soon enough. Mukundi loved walking in the Trumboldt Park. It had a thriving ecosystem that made his zoologist mind jump with joy. The flora and fauna made this 10-acre patch of land in the middle of Salzburg. A bustling and busy city struck him as an island that one could detour to when you want to escape the noise and crowds. Whomever had created the layout of this park had really placed a lot of thought into the environment and its inner working. It was a pity that he still had to share this little slice of haven with the other humans in this city. They went about their day oblivious to the many other worlds that existed right in front of them as they cut across the park. Mukundi sat on a wooden bench that stood in front of a large bronze statue of the park's founder, Sir Aristotle Trumboldt, a tribute to his contributions to shaping this small city and an ode to his philanthropic work since he had, after all, converted this piece of his vast estate into a public park that was still run by his trust. The sun was up high and a cool breeze helped create the perfect balance between light and cold. Enjoying his pineapple swirl ice cream, he observed and admired the relationships between the many bugs and plants in this park. He looked forward to passing by the neat rows of flower beds that covered a significant portion of the park on his way to feed the ducks in a man-made pond on the park's edge. Walking and stopping to inspect each bed of flowers, he would pull out his magnifying glass to zoom in on the many bugs that lived in harmony with the flowers and grass. He wondered who had thought of creating such lovely arrangements that were both beautiful and wild in their growth. This was nature. His mind trailed off as he noticed something odd about the most recent row of flowers that had been planted some weeks back. This was rather peculiar, and he hoped it was nothing more than an unfortunate accident. Maybe a small animal or bird had met its end here. But the number of beetles in this patch of flowers was not correlating with a small animal. Mukundi felt his blood go cold as goosebumps appeared on his skin. Maybe it was a large animal like a dog, but still his observations refused to match his suspicions. He needed to investigate fully and arrive at a sound conclusion. Without hesitation, he yanked out his portable toolkit for emergencies and stepped into the bed of flowers and began collecting samples for analysis. He made his way to the epicenter of the bug congregation, where he slowly began unearthing whatever could be causing this decaying flesh-eating beetle infestation. If uncontrolled, it would disrupt the delicate balance of ecosystems in this park. The park was designed to have 1,000 distinct flower beds. They were nowhere near achieving that goal, and the next 50-bed flower installation was scheduled in 4 months' time. It was one of the major highlights and attractions of the city of Salzburg. The park stretched over many hectares and was valued because it created a green belt that helped keep the city's climate thriving. Mukundi had already removed a significant layer of earth before park management caught wind of his activities. They did not want to risk yet another incident of animal remains being found with children playing in the park. They rushed to cover the flower bed with a barrier, which only worsened the curiosity of the park visitors. Mukundi was too focused to even notice anything else as he kneeled down in the damp earth, now using his trowel and brush to reveal what was causing the dermestid beetle infestation. He raked and brushed away for a while when he saw what looked like animal ribs and, for some reason, felt the relief wash over him when he saw the remains of what appeared to be two cats. Continuing his big reveal, he unearthed more of the animals, which were in the different stages of decomposition. This may be the reason for the beetles, but the quantity still vexed him. Tino brought him a disposal bag in which to place the remains for further investigation before incineration. In the last incident that unearthed almost 5 sets of small animal remains, it seemed the perpetrator had struck again. They really needed to place security cameras in this park. This was becoming too habitual, someone who was terrorizing poor animals and using the park as a dumping ground. What he couldn't understand was how they managed to bury these remains unseen, and why were they always in the most recent flower beds? Maybe they needed to take a closer look at their landscaper. He didn't finish the thought as he felt the park operations manager's fuming shadow creep up on him, signaling that he had done something wrong again.
Mukundi, we have discussed this before. Please follow protocol whenever you discover something unusual. We have an image to maintain here, and I would like to prevent the name Pet Cemetery from becoming a thing.
Me? I'm sorry, Marie, if the preservation of the park's ecosystem gets in the way of your PR campaign, but like you, I have a job to do, and that job is not always at convenient times.
His last statement was perfectly punctuated by 2 large bloodhounds unceremoniously jumping the flowerbed fence and crashing into the barrier as they escaped the ruthless clutches of their befuddled dog walker. They began furiously digging deeper where he had left off, making light work of his initial efforts by covering 3 times as much work in mere seconds. Mukundi's eyes widened and his blood ran cold when he realized the now-still dogs had dug up a human arm that was obviously still connected to the rest of the buried body.
Marie, call the police, our lawyers, and shut down the park now. You are going to need more than good PR for this next part.
In 20 minutes, the park was cordoned off the park, with police and forensics combing through it. The newly appointed canine assistants moved from flowerbed to flowerbed, stopping and whining wherever they suspected a buried body. After 5 more bodies making the park a crime scene, the police called in the help of more canine operatives and ground-penetrating radar. They quickly established a system of tagging the flowerbeds with red, yellow, and green flags, differentiating the suspected length of time of each set of remains. Red represented fresh remains, yellow advanced decomposition, and green were skeletal remains. Mukundi and Marie stood clutching hands for support in stunned, deafening silence, looking at more than a dozen tagged flowerbeds. Marie would routinely rub Mukundi's back just to reassure him he was not alone. Tino stood behind the couple guarding them like some sort of sentry,